Wow, here we go then. Spring is here, and I think finally we are through the miserable, rainy, wet, cold days here in the UK, and we can start to look ahead to the golf season. And today I'm going to take you through a putting session to get your putting sharp again, ready for getting back out on the golf course. So let's get into it. Today I'm going to just structure a little bit of a session where we're just going to run through some start line drills, some speed control and some green reading stuff that I like to do to really sort of get my putting back up to the level that I know it can be to then perform on the golf course. So let's get into some start line stuff. Okay, first things first then, we've got our mirror set up here with a T gate drill. So this is just about slightly wider than the ball's width here. Now you can make this obviously a little bit wider to begin with, but this is a great one just to do to really start to identify whether you're starting the ball on line. I really like to use the mirror because it helps me get my eye line in the correct position. I can then get my face alignment setting up square each time, and then I just like to make sure that my shoulders are also kind of matching my alignment as well down to the target line. Then I've got my ghost hole here about 4 or 5 feet away, and I just like to start with this, and then I'll move it back to about 8 or 9 feet, where we're just going to hit, say, 5 putts here, just really focusing on obviously our fundamentals, getting everything set up correctly, and then we can start to really get used to hitting some proper putts again. And also when I'm doing this with the ghost hole, I'm trying to get my speed control within a foot or so past the hole, and that I know then my speed is really consistent as well while I'm doing this. I've also got a chalk line down in the middle of this, so I can actually match my line on the ball to that chalk line, so it also trains my ball aligning skill to make sure that I'm not doing it in a wonky way that then will affect how I see the putt or how I hit the putt. Okay, hit the tee there, so that was a little bit of a push. That's something to make a note of as well, so you can start to identify any patterns, and if this is repeating throughout the session, then I know that that is maybe a mechanical or technical thing that I need to work on. So that was a really good one there. And also, you know, coming out from not playing on the greens, you know, for such a long time where courses have been closed and whatnot, your speed control and everything is really going to be such a big factor. And obviously, as we get more into the season, greens are going to dry out, they're going to improve, so they're going to get faster and faster, but getting used to speed of the greens is so critical. Good. So okay, we're going to move this back now, so I'm going to move this back to about sort of 8 or 9 feet to about here or so. Now I'd recommend obviously doing this on a fairly straight flat putt, so you start to really get a true sense of, you know, you're hitting consistent putts then. So okay, and obviously the further away you go, you could, if you wanted to, do this up to about 20 feet, but I like to just do this now to start with, because inside 10 feet I really want to make sure that I'm consistently starting it on line, because that's where it's going to make the most difference. Pretty good there. I've actually managed to play a few rounds recently, so I feel like this has been, you know, not too bad, but it's also just really good to get a proper putting session in now that we're able to. That's really good. So I've hit 3 pretty much perfect putts there, and that just, you know, I'm not going to spend too much time here. You spend 5-10 minutes or so As I said, just kind of checking over your fundamentals, making sure you're starting the ball online consistently, and then you can start to really work out from there and branch out into different areas of the putting. So let's get into some speed control stuff now. This is a really good speed game that I like to do to really dial that in. So we've got a 1 foot box here of tees. Now you can start here making it 2 foot wide, and I'd probably recommend doing that because I'm quite harsh on myself and I like to set a challenge. I've made it 1 foot, and then I've got tees at 10, 15, 20, 25 and 30 feet, and I'm just going to putt one ball from each and try and get it and see how many I can score out of 5 to finish it inside the square. And I'm going to repeat this for an uphill putt and then a downhill putt. So out of 10 putts, I'll get a measurement or a score out of 10 how many I can get inside there. And also I'll track which putts I make or I don't make. So I can then really start to identify, let's say, if I'm really good at from 10 feet or 15 feet, or maybe I need to improve from 25 or 30 feet. So this is a really good one to do to really just sharpen that up quite quickly, and it doesn't take much time at all. So let's start here. We got the 10 foot. And again, it's really just about, and one thing I really like about this drill is it takes away the element of trying to hit to a hole or trying to make the putt. I'm just really solely focusing on trying to get the ball to stop at a certain point. Now, I can then relate this to when I'm actually properly putting to a hole, because I'm almost visualizing myself hitting a putt to a specific point, say past the hole, that then visually I'm trying to recreate that. So almost the hole gets in the way then. And that actually helps me free me up in terms of, you know, I'm not trying to make the putt as such. So 10 feet here, trying to visualize that point that I'm going to stop the ball. That was a pretty terrible putt, not going to lie. Okay. On to the 15. 15 feet up the hill. Really focusing on getting the ball to stop on that specific point. Oh, touch long. Okay, so 0 for 2. And to be honest, I'm not expecting to score that well on this game to begin with, because I haven't really had a chance to practice this. So this is where this drill becomes so good, because it can really sharpen your speed control up very quickly and effectively. Bit of a bobble, but that's a good speed. Okay, nice. So we got 1 out of 3. That was pretty much perfect there. Onto the 25 footer. Obviously now you get out to this range and that 1 foot square becomes really quite small, but actually I like this because, as I said, it helps me really focus in on trying to get the ball to stop on a specific point. And I think the smaller your target is, the more precise I think you are going to be at hitting it to that target. Travel. Oh no, that's just short. Okay, 1 out of 4. Not great start on this uphill. Come on, we need to try and get this in 2 to make it 2 out of 5. 30 feet. Felt like I hit a pretty good putt there, and it's just bobbled out. Okay, so 1 out of 5 on the uphill. Let's go to downhill. Okay, on to downhill, and 1 out of 5 we got on the uphill. Let's see if we can improve on this downhill one. So 10 feet. And this again, it just presents a little bit of a different test, obviously, to the uphill. But everything sort of remains the same in terms of I'm really trying to visualize where I want this ball to finish. Oh, that's literally half a ball short. Okay, Normally I'm pretty good at getting these 10 and 15 footers in, but when you don't do this in this game, the scoring becomes very tricky. I'm gonna say that was going in because that was gonna finish probably about here. So I'm gonna be a bit kind on myself there and give myself that. That was a good putt. Okay, on to 20 feet. We got 1 out of 2 in. Nice. Is it? Oh, I think that's just rolled out. No way. Yeah, it has. Oh, yeah, that's just out. Damn, I thought that was a perfect putt. Okay, 1 out of 3. And again, it just shows you how actually tricky this game is. But you know, if your margin is so kind of close in that aspect, you know, you're not going to be far away when you're actually putting to a proper hole on the course. So 25 feet, come on. Smash that, I think. Just a bit right as well. So as you can tell, this is a little bit rusty, which, as I said, is to be expected. But the point is now I know what I need to work on, and a lot of the time it is your speed control. So I'm just going to be doing a ton of these speed games, drills, to really dial this in as we start getting better green conditions and course conditions into the season. 30 feet, come on. Oh wow, that really just didn't get going at all. I thought I hit that quite hard. So 1 out of 5 again. So 2 out of 10 on that game, which, yeah, as I said, is not a great score. But to be honest, the score isn't that important in terms of what I get. It's just more about getting sort of a baseline number to work off. Now I know that this sort of area is something that I need to really work on. And yeah, as I said, to be expected because I haven't really had a chance to practice this sort of stuff that much. So speed control, definitely an area that I need to dial back in. Let's get into some green reading to finish off. So I got a green reading drill here, which is linked to an aim point drill that I've been working on or have been working on previously. But this is a really good one because I think it really matches in your reading and your speed. So got a tee here and a tee here. So that's 10 feet away and then 20 feet. So really just focusing on that 10 to 20 feet range, because generally speaking, you're going to have majority of your putts within this range. So the goal is I've got to hit a putt to this ghost hole and I've basically got to hold it, but it's not allowed to finish short, obviously, or finish 2 foot past. If it finishes short or outside 2 feet past, then I lose a life. And I have to and wherever this ball finishes and I've hold it, I then move this ghost hole back and then I've got to try and get to the end to 20 feet. And then once I complete that first section, I repeat this again and work my way through. So basically you're just trying to score how many attempts it takes you to get this ghost hole to the end. So it's a really good one to do, as I said, to focus in on your green reading, matching your line to your speed, because that's really what you're trying to do, obviously, on the golf course. So it's kind of combining what we've worked on previously with our start line drill to begin with, and then a bit of our speed control stuff. And now, as I said, we're matching that all together. So got this first putt here, which is about a 3% slope. And again, you want to try and pick this on a slope that is fairly consistent. So nothing that's too crazy and severe. And also you can be really sort of precise in, you want to pick a left to right putt or a right to left putt, something that you think you potentially struggle with. And it's a really good way to start to, as I said, identify the patterns and work on those areas that you think you need to work on. So I've picked a left to right because I think this is an area that I sometimes struggle with, and yeah, it's something that I think is really important, as I said, to be aware of. Just got to repair this sort of pitch mark here. Okay, so left to right, up the hill a little bit. As I said, the goal is now got to try and hit this putt to hold it to the ghost hole and finish no more than 2 feet past. Okay, so that would have gone in. So that's a make to start with, and we can move that back now to here. So that's 1 for 1. So good start there. And obviously, once you do this, you're going to be, once you hold it, say to start with, the line is going to be pretty consistent all the way through. But as I said, it's now a case of figuring that out quite quickly, and then obviously trying to match that with your speed. So let's see if we can make this 2 for 2. Oh, I think that would have just missed high, maybe a fraction firm. Okay, so that's a loss of life. Got 2 left, 2 lives remaining. Again, I've hit it through the break there. Okay, got 1 life remaining. So yeah, this is, as I say, this is a really good drill, really tricky to match it all together, and it's something that I would recommend only spending 10-15 minutes on. But I think this is a great way to help you get your putting sharp quickly for when you can get out on the golf course. Yes, we made it. Good. Okay, so we hang in there. We can move that back and we keep going. Nice. Okay, we're hanging in there. That's 5 putts. We've made 3, missed 2, which is good. And we're almost halfway up to 15 feet within this 10 to 20 feet range. My best score in this game is I've completed it once, and then I've got to about 15 feet, I think it was, in the second one. Once you complete it once, you then lose a life. So it's a really, as I say, it really adds another element to the pressure of trying to complete this game. That's a good part there, really good. Starting to get it dialed in now. So that's 4 out of 6 we've holed. So, as I say, you start to get the confidence as well from this, because once you start knowing that you've got your line correct, all you've got to do then is trust that and try and match the speed and put a good stroke on it. And that's really just the 3 key elements to putting. It's getting your speed, your line, and your start line. Oh, it's missed high. Okay, so that's it, game done. But got to about 15 feet or so, so halfway up this first block of 10 to 20 feet. And yeah, so that's a little bit of a breakdown of a putting session that I like to do to really kind of get the feels and everything sharp again, ready for the golf season. So I hope this helps you. And if you are interested in getting more drills and insights, come along and join the RHG community. I'm also doing a free 7-day trial for this. So I'll put everything in the description below. Check out my website. There's hundreds of games and drills that you can do. And this is, as I say, how I practice, you'll get a true insight into what a tour pro does to prepare for the season. So if that's what you're interested in, I'd love to see you in the community and welcome you to the team. But for now, see you all in the next one.